What's up, Ato Clan? This is Shield here, back at it with another episode, another coaching episode, this time with G-Fest. He's one of the top coaches on Medify. I was really excited to be able to get a hold of him, have him come on and give me some tips. We're analyzing the last episode we had of Unranked to Awkward, which was episode 4, which was admittedly a while ago because I had some PC issues. Got those taken care of, got an episode recorded with G-Fest, and he gave us some really good pointers on cooldown usage, playing open space, punishing the enemy when they use their cooldowns, and saving yours for when that moment comes. So really excited to get into it and see what kind of lessons he offered for us. I hope you guys get value out of it. I hope you learned a thing or two. He's a really great coach, and was excited to get this one finished. So hop in and we'll have the next Unranked to Awkward episode out soon. I'm really excited to get back into the series. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. And okay, well, thanks for hopping on. How do you say your name? How do you say your gamer tag?
G-Fast, pretty much.
G-Fest. G-Fest. Okay.
Yes.
Well, good to meet you, G-Fest. Yeah, I would love to hear more about who you are and, your experience coaching and how that's been going.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, as I mentioned, my name is G-Fast. I've been playing since beta, pretty much, since Overwatch 1. I've been playing quite a lot of tank, but I've been top of 100 on all roles, pretty much. Later, transition to coaching. Just started with coaching individuals, just normal kind of was coaching players for the most part, and then started doing it full time, coaching teams and coaching players in the one-on-ones. Currently, a lot. I have thousands of hours in terms of coaching and playing as well. When I was playing, actually, I've been able to hit top 10 multiple times, but it's been on tank. It's been on tank, and mostly it's been running hard. But the other roles also have a lot of experience. For the coaching, I mainly coaching Matterfy now. It's just been, I think, couple of years. I coaching there pretty much. I'm in a top 5% of Matterfy coaches. I think I'm
Yeah.
doing okay there. Yeah. So for the most part, I think that's it. One more important thing is I'm coaching collegiate a lot recently. So this is
Oh,
kind of for team coaching. Yeah, this is what I do mostly right now.
okay. Cool. Well, that's all a lot of really good experience. A lot of, yeah, just been doing this a while, it sounds like. You said you play Reinhardt mostly, right?
Oh yeah, I did. It's just now I most of my time is dedicated to coaching, but I still do play.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm still kind of can be confidently reaching top 200, 100, and I did kind of when I played previous season. I had a little bit of time to play. This season, I was really busy with coaching, so not as much. I don't have as much time.
Gotcha, gotcha. I sent you our last episode. It was episode 4. For those who don't know, I'm starting at bronze 5 and I'm trying to see how high I can go using some of Awkward's principles. So I'd love to hear kind of
Mhm.
your take on it and how you think I did.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I think we can just go through the form first, what you mentioned there, so we can kind of just
Okay,
get familiar with what we need to start working on. Well, you've mentioned a few things. You mostly want to feedback on macro strategy, right? Not as
that's
much
right.
micro, like aim, want to look at positioning, cooldown usage. Those are the bigger things. What do you think? Maybe let's try to specify this a little bit more. What do you think you struggle with exactly in terms of positioning and cooldown usage?
I think, the last coach we spoke with, because Awkward says use your cooldowns a lot, just use them.
Okay.
And eventually you'll figure out when the best times are to use them. But for
Right.
bronze, silver players, you forget you have them. Um, and so I've been trying to do that, but then the last coach was like, "Well, actually, you're using them. You're just kind of wasting them," which was good
Mhm.
feedback, especially as Anna. Um, I throw a lot of sleeps into nowhere. I throw nades when I'm
Mm.
probably too far back.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so cooldown usage, I think, would be important because if those are the big ticket like value
Mm.
items,
Mm,
in my
mm.
perspective.
Right.
And then
Mm,
positioning is more, if you break it down into a few chunks, I can play really safe, which sometimes I do as Anna. And but when I do that, I'm really heal botting. And sometimes I play a little bit more aggressive, but I'm only like shooting the tank, which isn't like that valuable. And then other times I
mhm.
know that I'm doing those two things. I try to play hyper aggressive, but then I'm really in bad spots or where I'm at risk of dying, or I'm so far up that I can't see which teammates need to get healed, and so I lose vision.
Mhm.
So positioning and using the cooldowns, I think those are the big ones.
Right. Okay. So first of all, in terms of cooldown usage, I think you're right. Um, in terms of we want to get the best value out of the cooldowns, we definitely don't want to be wasting them. However, how you can understand Awkward's advice, right? There's a lot of advice out there where it's why he says those things that we need to actively use cooldowns, right? It's mostly because we want to find out how to get as much value as possible in terms of just being proactive, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. If we being proactive now, you are in control of situation, but it should be, of course, more of a we need to think about the right time when to do that. Yeah, so we're kind of not holding in the cooldowns really as much. We still controlling things, but yeah, just making sure it's the right timing, maybe the right target priority, maybe even the right place. So I think we can talk about that a little bit more. Uh, in terms of positioning, we'll get to that as well. Okay. By the way,
okay.
you mentioned you're trying to apply this awkward playstyle, but what do you mean by that exactly? What? How do you understand that?
Yeah, in my head, what it means is because when I first started playing, and I just started playing at the beginning of Overwatch 2, um, when I first started playing, I'd play Anna, sit in the back, I'd get a high healing game, maybe 400 damage. And the biggest thing I was proud of was 0 deaths. So I was like, oh
Right.
wow, I had 0 deaths and I healed 20,000 heals. I'm playing really well. And so watching Awkward's videos in terms of doing damage, being proactive, getting value, using
Mm,
your like using your grenade for offensively instead of defensively. Those were all things that I think were impactful for me in shifting
mhm.
up my game. And I've seen some results, at least on my main, but obviously trying to get better.
Okay, yeah, sure. I think all of that makes sense. Definitely being more proactive, just kind of being in control of situation this way. This is really good. Well, for the other things, you mentioned that you play Anababs and Kiri. I think this is okay. You also mentioned that you play 6 hours per week. Okay, is that correct playtime? So it's just 6 hours a week, or
Honestly, it might be less.
mm,
I
mm.
yeah, it's not enough. Um, I'm a I'm a boomer a little bit. I'm a little bit older.
That's all right. That's all
I
right.
have 2 kids and I work full time, so yeah, it's getting in the game time to actually practice some of the things is
Mhm,
tough. So that yeah, that's often how often I
mhm,
play.
mhm, mhm. I think in terms of playtime, if you can somehow solve that, of course, it's not that. It's just necessary. You have to push yourself a little bit more. But
Yeah.
ideally, if we can increase it to 10 hours,
Mm,
that is where you can see much more significant value. What are you doing? Because it's just easy for you to build all those habits.
yeah.
You can definitely make it much easier for you with that consistent practice. But there are also other ways because you have all those responsibilities in life. Of course, we
Yeah.
also can increase the efficiency of the practice. This is how you what you this is how you practice in the game, how you set goals, what kind of goals you have exactly, how you implement them. I think we can talk about that at least. If that's tough to increase the playtime, at least this can solve some of the
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. You gotta
Well,
practice.
yeah, sure. Well, what kind of replay we want to take a look on? You mentioned Colosseo would be a good one, right?
Yeah, that'd be a good one, I think. Because
Okay,
that's the
Colosseo.
one I lost, and there's several other episodes where I lost a lot more. Um, but on that map, I think I said it in the video that I don't think I've won on that map during this whole journey. Um,
Right.
so even some, feedback, yeah, I think that would be a good place to start.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's just start with the what is your thought process here? What are you looking to do in general on this map based on this situation, kind of?
Well,
What is.
I
Mhm.
think in general, on this map, I pick Anna because I play Anna and Bap for this series for the most part. I've only played those two characters, and Bap on this map feels tough because most of the fighting is in this long alley,
Right,
and
right
so I'm
there.
like I don't really get a lot of like value with my vertical mobility, so
Sure.
longer sight lines made more sense to me. So I figured if I could just take advantage of those, keep cover to myself, then we can slowly move up.
Okay,
Is
yeah.
that what you mean?
Yeah, no, I think this makes sense in terms of the thought process of why we play Nana here in the first place. I think that makes total sense. The map is really good for you. You have a lot of long sight lines. It's quite nice for you as a character. As I mentioned, there's not much verticality too. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. In terms of the maybe just the general mindset of the Ana here, what are you looking to do in general? Is this just kind of like you mentioned, applying this awkward play style with trying to do as much damage as possible before the fight, kind of use those cooldowns more proactively, or yeah, what is that exactly? Maybe
Yeah,
you can even think about what was the goal for you if you practice anything specific here in this game, if there was, yeah, if there was anything.
yeah. I think in the beginning, which is funny now looking at my POV. I think in the beginning of this game, I even said I want to practice taking off angles
Uh
on
huh.
this map. And my brain is actually really hard to do
Okay.
as Anna here because I really the only off angle I can take is if I go to the right outside of this alley,
Yeah, at least it here. Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
just like dangerous. So theoretically, it was to take off angles, but I don't know
Mhm.
how I would have gone about doing that because I can't use cooldowns really well if
Mhm.
they're right in front of me.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right, right. Yeah, 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 sure. Yeah, that makes sense totally because there are a lot of defensive abilities right in front of you, such as the shields, yeah, uh, just maybe anything else what can potentially kind of block your cooldowns. Will want to take those off angles. Uh, by the way, how do you understand this term off angle? What does it mean exactly? So yeah,
So, like,
just checking that.
I think of it as if I'm the enemy team, I have to move my cursor to look at me.
Yes.
So it's in a position where they can't just look through my teammates and then see me. It's
Right,
they actively have to like look to the left and know I'm there. Um,
right.
but look to the right, like that's kind of what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes total sense. I think so far. Let's just look at this first fight and see how we, yeah, what we can do. As you mentioned, here there are not as many opportunities for you to take off angle when you're trying to apply pressure, right?
Yeah.
So in this case we just kind of in this stuck in this corridor, which sometimes can happen, especially on some enclosed maps, kind of where you don't have as many options. Maybe Lijiang control center, for example, you might
Mm, yeah.
have a little bit the tunnel map, maybe some certain points like Eichenwald third point. There are not as many options. Okay, so what do we want to do in this case? Yeah, because your entire goal with off angle is to try to apply more pressure, as you mentioned. Yeah, try to kind of be more proactive. That makes sense. Now, how you can be more proactive when you being here? Is there something what you can look for?
Well, I guess just move forward. Because my team's goal is to move forward. Maybe to the left in that little cutout. Um,
Okay.
but I don't know. I'm not sure what other options I really have to like try to get open up the angle, as they would say.
Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, moving forward. if we think about that, is it really necessary for us as Ana? So let's just think purely from map control perspective. Yeah, what are we trying to do? We're trying to control this area here. Okay.
Mhm.
When we're looking to control this area, do we really need to move forward it to be able to do that effectively? What do you think?
I don't think I need to for range, like my effective range
Right.
can hit all my teammates, but
Exactly.
the further back I sit, like the narrower the angle feels, I think. So that's kind of where my head is
Mm-hmm.
at. But
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
straight line it looks like to me, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure the
exactly.
best way to open up the angle here.
So if we're looking at this situation, um, we starting out on this right side, we have quite a lot of vision, and then move to the left here a little, and then we starting only have vision on this area. Okay,
Mm,
so what do you think about this position here? Is that the position if it being on the left, which allows you to control this part of the area in the most effective way, and kind of being able to pressure an enemy as much as possible and being proactive, like I mentioned?
no. this
Pro
is
probably not. Yeah.
this is in my brain what you would
Mhm.
do to when you're trying to take cover, but as you can see, I'm full
Right.
health.
So, well, we wanna play near cover. It's just really the quality of what kind of cover
Mm,
allows you to apply pressure as the first priority, because usually there's nothing to heal first. But then secondary, if your teammates really need that support, then we can start supporting them. But unfortunately, with our positioning now, it's just not possible to apply any pressure. Yeah, we just cannot see anybody from the enemy team. Yeah, so our first goal is it doesn't matter if we take off angle or if we are stuck in this tunnel here. There's not possible for you to take off angle yet. Make sure you see an enemy team first, and then secondary, you wanna be able to see your team as
mm,
well. Yeah. So in this case, if I want to see an enemy where we should be, what
yeah,
is the location of the fight of which we yeah, where you should be staying right now? What do you think?
up on that pillar on the right.
On the
Uh,
right.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. See, you want to give yourself more options to control this area. As you can see here, when we started out, see how many options you have to
Hmm.
control this area. You can kind of see this area. You can also see in front of the payload. So I think starting out here is definitely fine. Moving forward, yeah, depending on the situation, if maybe your team pushes up or the enemy team they go forward on you, you might push back, but you always want to make sure you have as much um, vision as possible. Sort of think about using longer range angles for you, so you can apply more pressure. Yeah, think about what area really gives you more chances to see this area which you're looking to control. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I'm in this corner, I can see this area in a more comfortable way. But at the same time, if something happens, I can easily hide from multiple enemies. Yeah, I can kind of isolate myself if something happens i- and take this 1v1 duel. Yeah, but it's because I'm playing cover, of course. But now you playing cover, sure, but this angle is just kind of not allowing us to set up early pressure in your nose because you're not able to set up this early pressure. Maybe you're not able to look for this early nade and get around the shield, or just go for the early shots at least. Yeah, it might
Yeah.
be on the shield as well, but just a little bit extra pressure before doing this. Yeah, before
Yeah.
actually healing our team, which is not needed at first.
Right.
Okay, so this is the first thing, which seems is really important. Now we used our nade and used our sleep dart. What do you think about those cooldowns there? What is them?
Well, kind of like right
Mhm.
here, um, in relation to what you're saying about having pressure early, I probably could have helped, soften up some of these bad guys.
Probably.
Before my Rhine dove in, he dove
Hmm.
in, and I was like, "Oh shoot, he's gonna die." I threw the nade kind of as a
Yeah.
last ditch chance to like maybe try to save him.
Right.
Um, so he charges, and then I throw
Right.
the nade because I'm like, "Oh, he's gone." It was too late.
Yeah.
Because
Unfortunately.
he
Yeah.
got melted.
Right.
And then the sleep dart was, I don't know. I don't know if thought process went into it. It was more like I'm backing up. Maybe I can give myself time if I get asleep
Right, right, right.
because
So
we're
it's more of
losing
a
now. You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're losing, I think here the sleep dart kind of makes sense. The nade, just in terms of how you hit the nade, was pretty decent. You just want to recognize that positioning where we've been. Yeah, like I mentioned, it's just not allowing us to do this early pressure, and then
Mm.
maybe if you do it there, yeah, once the rank card charges in because you have that, then you can disable some of the pressure, and then the chances he might survive, who knows? But sure, let's just watch a little bit more and see what happens later. We just trying to apply pressure, which is nice, and then you go back to healing when you see somebody critical, like a soldier's critical. This is good, and then we using the sleep dart there in the May. Well, let's just watch a little bit more. I think we can talk about the sleep dart a little bit too. Okay, so there's a nade, and then I think you should be winning the fight pretty soon, probably. If you're looking for another nade there. Well, what do you think? What do you think about this here? If we just again thinking about purely controlling the map, yeah. What's your
Hmm.
thought process behind this nade? Is it the most effective one? Could we be doing it better? Yeah, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are um, one, it's hard to throw the nades when I'm directly behind like that because I don't have high ground. So I'm really just like, I hope these hit.
Hmm.
um,
Right.
so my accuracy is going to be less than that. I think similar to what we saw before,
Hmm.
it could be like a pressure nade. Like if I to keep the momentum going, like hey,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
I hit him with this, he's antied. He has to back up. We can keep it moving forward.
Right.
Um, Yeah, but it's kind of like a longer range nade.
Right. 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 What do you think about the timing here?
Well, he backed up a little bit. I don't know where it hit. This is probably where the replay code would have worked.
Oh, it seems like it hit the Ramatra pretty decently. We just hit the wall, so there's a splash damage on the Ramatra. I think it worked. It's
Hmm.
just when we doing this kind of pressure. Hmm, is there what do you think? Is there a better time when we could be doing this, or this is like good enough? Like, what are you looking for with the timings usually? What's your thought process behind this?
In this case, I think we're fine in terms of health,
Hmm.
but in terms of because my I know because I was watching some like A10 videos and he talks about cooldowns. So like
Yes, yes, yes.
I I didn't nade to save my Rhine. I naded because I knew the Ryan was fighting and he's like close enough.
Yes,
He's close
yes.
enough to capitalize on it. So I didn't feel like I was wasting it as the Ramacha's backing up, but he is kind of behind
Hmm.
cover and I only hit him.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if it's the best timing, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think the goal was to try to get us, yeah, pushed up as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. No, I think all this makes sense. So if we're looking at it, usually whatever we do, yeah, it's our pressure, it's our cooldowns usage. If you think about controlling the map, if you think about controlling certain area, yeah, because your team is pushing up a little bit, so they're trying to control this area in front of the robot. What really we're looking to do is make sure it's easier for your team to control this area. Your
Mm,
cooldowns are pretty big, yeah, and actually, I think the nade there was pretty decent. It's just I wanna hear the opinion on what do you think? Yeah, like what's your general thought process behind it? Maybe if Dermator committed even more towards your team sidelines,
mm,
that might give you bigger value because then they have to use more resources. The enemy team they have to maybe use something defensive to save Dermator or try to heal him, which is better, but this is good enough. You're kind of waiting for this committed pressure from the
mm-hmm,
enemy once they're doing things. And you see the Matter was using Nemesis right there, and he started applying pressure in this area. So you can think about disabling it. Yeah, it's kind of we're
mm,
always thinking about pressuring first with your normal primary fire, usually trying to force some sort of cooldown, and then we are looking to punish an enemy with your own cooldown. So I think it worked quite well. It's just something to keep in mind. You can even push your limits to even more if you're not just only thinking about the cooldowns, but also thinking about maybe extending the pressure a little bit. You ever kind of thinking, well, if this guy pushes more, maybe you can force something in addition. Who knows? But this is pretty decent. Yeah, this is pretty good enough. Okay, and
That what you just said there though, that's an interesting point because it's primary fire to pressure to force them to use a cooldown, and then when they use it, we punish their cooldown usage with mine.
usually, yes, usually
That
it's of course it's situational, but
because that's something tangible. Like if I'm a support player and any other support players watching, that's something tangible that it's like I can lock onto. It's easy to remember, like
sure.
pressure, pressure, pressure when they use a cooldown, punish it. Like that's like
Right,
and
right.
obviously not in every case. And I don't know that that's what I was thinking at that time when I used it. But
Mhm.
that could be valuable.
Yeah, you can think about maybe not necessarily only cooldowns, but kind of big pressure. But usually, big pressure is connected to the cooldowns for the most part. Yeah, but what big pressure can be? It can be maybe any sort of ultimate. Maybe you see multiple characters doing a lot of damage. They kind of all committed to do certain pressure. You also might be thinking, well, this that was pretty decent. Yeah, I just applied this early pressure. Maybe you was taking off angle. Yeah, and there's a lot of attention towards you. Then you're thinking, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on, and now because they're using a lot of resources, you're disabling this. Yeah, you're disabling this later once they point out something to you. Yeah, like once the big pressure happens. And for example, here we're thinking now there's an opportunity for you to take that off angle. Now there's opportunity for you to apply pressure. Yeah,
Mm,
and once the enemies they start doing things towards you, they start applying pressure towards you, then you're thinking about punishing it. Yeah.
mm,
And but see, like now, is it maybe necessary for us to use the sleep dart if we're thinking about the first kind of turning the enemy's attention to us and then punishing it? Yeah, is it really necessary for us to use the
no,
cooldown right away?
I don't think
Mm,
any thought went into that sleep dart at all. I think it was like if he, I can catch him while he's not looking at me, and I just missed.
right,
But no, I like what you're saying in terms of waiting for him to commit.
right. And see, this is not passive wait. This is really you being proactive, you taking off angle, but when there's an actual pressure happens towards you, when there's an actual attention, for example, the Surmater goes into Nemesis and he starts going towards you, and then you disable him with Sleep Dart. Much
Mm,
bigger value compared to Sleep Dart and getting out instantly. Okay. Another
mm,
thing about the sleep dart is that technically it can extend the time you can stay aggressive. How it can happen? Well, if you have the sleep dart, everyone's scared to push you, and because everyone's scared to push you, but you have this off angle, good position, you're able to apply more pressure. And it's just because you have the sleep dart. It's not because you use that, yeah, you apply more pressure, but because you
mm,
have it. It's kind of whenever the enemy team they have Tracer on their team. Yeah. And Tracer's the kind of scared of getting slapped a lot of times. See if they play against Gudana, and what the Basana would do, they really keeping the sleep dart, but it's not passive with. Yeah, they're being aggressive, they're being proactive, and the Tracy, they just cannot touch the Ana because there's a sleep tower. They know that. Yeah, they also know
yeah.
maybe the Ana can do some quick scope shots and then just apply pressure on them because the position correctly. But yeah, you think about committed pressure first. Yeah, so we're not thinking,
Mm,
well, just throw the cooldowns away. Yeah, let's just say our positioning. Yeah, like we mentioned the stuff before. Even though it's not off angle, yeah, let's be in a position which allows you to see an enemy, apply more active pressure, be active, and then if there's pressure towards you, we start disabling it with the sleep dart, especially. I think with the nade, you can be more kind of proactive. Yeah, like
mm,
you see, there's your team, most of your team, they can get value because you use the nade, or you can get a kill 100%. Usually, the nade is good to use. Yeah, it's usually the first resource you would be using. But the sleep dart is more like a safe tool for you to stay in the off angle because you don't have as much mobility compared
Mm-hmm.
to other characters like Baptiste, you can jump.
Right.
Kiriko, you can CP out. Anna, you really stationary. So treat your sleep dart like an enabler for you to stay in a more aggressive position. Like, for example, here, I know I have sleep dart. I can totally stay in off angle if something happens to me. And if now, because they know I'm staying off angle, if they start pressuring me, I can just disable them. Yeah, like you do here, sort of. Yeah, it's you see the Junkrat's pressuring you, well, you can disable that pressure. That makes sense because he's the most aggressive. You can
Mm-hmm.
totally sleep dart him. I think that makes sense. Now we start playing on this angle towards the back, and then
Yeah, I
we
mean
have the
that's
nano. Mhm.
all what you've been saying is all really good. Using your sleep as a way to extend your time in advantageous
Yes,
positions. That's so good.
yes, yes,
And
yes, for
then
sure.
using the nade to just try to create opportunities. Um, but yeah, even there, just kind of shooting it into the wind.
Yeah, so it's kind of maybe not necessary yet. Yeah, you can also think about the perspective of not only you can think about extending the time you stay on the position, on the good position, but you can also think about your teammates. Your teammates can stay at the better position if you have the sleep dart, because the enemies, yeah, especially better enemies, they know, oh, there's a sleep dart. They may be gonna be scared to push your team in a more aggressive way. If
Hmm.
you know, if this is of course you kind of see them. They play around the same area where you are. Uh, this also, we have the nano. Well, what is your thought process behind the nano? What do you usually do with that?
I think if I wasn't, because I was, so I don't know if you have the audio on. You don't, but the Rhine right there,
It's okay.
when he died, he used Shatter and he got killed
Right,
before it went off.
right,
And so I think if I wasn't distracted by the junk, I probably would have nanoed the Rhine. And then backing
right.
up, uh, because like right
Hmm.
here, I'm like, okay, we can get the Rhine. He's pushed up. I turn and look at the junk. And so the Rhine,
Hmm.
he's doing his thing. I don't have nano yet, so I can't really use it.
Hmm.
By the
Hmm.
time I get it to use Ryan's dead, and then there's a split second where I can nano
Hmm.
soldier
Hmm.
to save his life, and I
Right,
just didn't hit it. I didn't hit it, and you can hear me walking away, being like, "Oh, I could have used nano there," but he just died. Um,
right, right.
but even
Hmm.
using nano defensively like this, like as we're backing up and our tank's dead, I don't know, maybe it would have been a waste.
I think if you have this kind of even situation, usually if it's 4v4, 5v5, totally using your nano to initiate in this case, kind of try to turn the fight around is good enough.
Hmm.
But let's just think about um, whenever you playing support, whatever you do, you can think about enabling the big play from your team, enabling the big pressure from your team, sort of, and at the same time disabling the enemy's pressure. Yeah, what we mentioned about the positioning, it's kind of you enabling your pressure, you enabling what you do, but you can also enable your teammates. Sort of, you can enable thinking, okay, who is the most aggressive right now? Who is really gonna be under the biggest pressure? Okay, so what we did here, we disabled the big pressure from this angle. Yeah, why this is scary? Because Junkrat is taking off angle. Well, it's kind of a flank in this case.
Right.
He's totally isolated. So it's good that we're punishing that. So we disabled the big pressure. However, when we start pointing the crosshair towards the Moira, we're saying that we enabling the big pressure. Yeah, there. Like, because ideally, as I mentioned, you always should be thinking either enable the big pressure from my team or I disable the big pressure from the enemy. And now, if I point the crosshair towards the Moira, is that a really enabling the biggest pressure right now on the map?
Hmm.
Or if not, or then where it should be, what you should be enabling right now? What do
Because
you think?
because the Ryan is where I should be focusing, right?
Probably, yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
because so she, yeah, I guess that even that is a situation because like a lot of awkward videos, you'll be like, well, only heal your teammates if they're critical. But knowing that one, Moira self heals, she has help with the Reaper. Like the Junk's
Hmm.
definitely gonna die.
Hmm.
It's just not, yeah, super big value to try to heal her and then focus on the Junk. Like I probably could have turned, and if I just immediately focused to the Rhine.
Yeah, probably. I think this is kind of the part where we not only thinking about who is critical, but you also want to think about who is the most active on the map right now, who is really
Hmm.
can apply a lot of pressure or under a lot of pressure at the same time. If you see, I think it might make sense to go for this one shot because it's sort of the Moira can do damage to Junkrat. Junkrat's still there, maybe one shot on the Moira, but then later, most of your attention should be at the place where the biggest pressure is. Yeah, so our attention should be like 80% of our attention probably should be on the Ryan because why? Because it's just four people or
Staring
I
at
I
him.
lost the track on numbers or like three people pressuring him. Yeah, so this is kind of more scary. You want to disable the big pressure on the map from their team and then at the same time yeah enable your big pressure. So but most of your attention is here. That's why it's kind of we not
Uh,
able to get as much value. I think it's okay if we get the Junkrat. It's just the part of our attention, yeah, like most of attention is there, and then return to maybe the uh just get a kill in the Junkrat and maybe try to help out the Moira just a little bit if she's critical. We have one shot, but most of your shots should be dedicated towards the Rhine. Yep.
yeah.
That does it make
Hmm.
sense or
Yeah, good pressure. Like I'm trying to think of an easy way to like keep that in my mind because when I'm in the game, I want to be able to remember this. Like
yeah,
boost
sure,
our pressure, like whoever is the tip of the spear, I guess, like in this
kind
case,
of. No,
Ryan's taking on the most. Um,
yes, yes.
mm,
I think if you trying to build this habit, just starting with thinking my priorities on whoever does the most pressure on the map, yeah, who's generating a lot of pressure, it should be there first and critical at the same time. Yeah, critical and the most active members, they should be the first priority because sometimes you'll notice when they're critical members, but they're behind the cover. Yeah, so they are not active. You shouldn't be focusing that exactly, especially if there's a self healing. It's not as necessary as paying attention to Ryan. Because at the high level, you will notice there might be a split second where you can heal the Moira and then turn most of your attention is there, so it's on the Rhine. But I just think really, if you even do this, you know, not hitting the Moira there with this one shot and just turning instantly towards the Rhine, this is good enough. Later, you will build those nuances. You will build this
mm,
kind of understanding of, oh, maybe I can sneak a little bit more value here. Maybe I can sneak a little bit more value there. Yeah. But I think for now, just addressing the biggest problem. Yeah, thinking, okay, who is the most active on the map? What is based on? The most active, who is under the biggest pressure? It's based on the purely numbers. Yeah, it can be based on this because there's a Matra and Nano in the rank card. Yeah, let's enable this first. Yeah, let's kind of put most of our attention there. Yeah,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
no,
Uh-huh.
that's huge.
Okay. Well, we are. I will have to go back at this point. Of course, the runs that probably can be used in Nano if there's a 4v4 even I think, and who knows because your most of your attention is to would could be towards this the most aggressive member on your team, such as Ryan. Maybe you can also enable him with Nano. But yeah, at this point we just want to regroup. You have this position to pressure. There's good pressure, I think. Uh, Using our nade and then using the nano to kind of just start out the fight. Okay.
He
What do you think
has,
about this? Yeah.
well, go ahead. This nade,
Yeah, this nade right there.
trash.
White trash.
Because they're all in cover. Most of my team is
Uh,
to the left of me here, on the left. Somehow our
mhm.
DPS get out. But like Moira's dead on the top right. You can see she died. They're in cover. Even if I hit the nade, which I didn't, uh, nobody can do anything about it. So I just am setting
That's
myself back on a cooldown timer.
yep, yeah, yeah. So it's kind of at this moment, there's just nobody who can control the map. So we're not enabling or disabling anything, sort of. There
Yeah.
can be, and usually it's especially on those escort maps, I think, where both teams they kind of not going towards each other exactly. There's one team who's set up on one position, and then another team's pushing the point. Usually, you might have time to do this early pressure and just throw the nade in a
Right.
early stages of the fight. This is what we call poke phase. And
Hmm.
once the actual fight happens, when most of your team can press this active can be active on the map. They can kind of, if we keep it simple, press this primary fire. Yeah, they can use their cooldowns actively. Then it's where the brawl phase starts, and we want to use our cooldown there. Yeah, we want to be enabling this brawl phase as much as possible. And now the brawl phase starts. Yeah, your Orisa is able to do this. Use all of her cooldowns and get value, and also primary fire, of course. Same about the soldier, but now we don't have the nadia. It's just not possible to kind of control this area. Yeah, nobody was able to control this there, and now yeah, just unfortunately, it's not enabling, yeah, or disabling anybody. Who knows? Maybe I can disable the Sumatra if he goes in the Nemesis form. Maybe it's not the
Yeah.
best. Maybe it's better usually to go after something what's more killable. Maybe something like even going after mm, I don't know, these guys in the back line there aiming for multiple targets might be better. But it's just the general thought process. I'm disabling the biggest pressure, really, and this way you can control the map. Okay, I think this makes sense. The matter is an ultimate. We try to sow the nade towards him.
Yeah, he got
That
nanoed.
was a good attempt. Yeah. Okay, I think it should be we should win this fight. And by the way, this is what I'm talking about when you extend in the pressure time, and because you have this kind of more aggressive position again. It's not necessarily that you staying in front somewhere. It's just because you hold this kind of angle somewhere. It might be
Hmm.
off angle. If the enemy team pushes you, you're disabling that, and now this way you support your team indirectly, kind of, because
Yeah.
there's attention on you. Now there's no attention on them, and that helps you to win more because you are in control of situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not really relying on your teammates not dying or something. Yeah, if they get pressured they die, and then you're like, wait, okay, what are you guys doing? Yeah, but you really, if you're being more proactive and then you force an enemy team to pressure you, then it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Like, for example, here there's some opportunities we can look for. Let's see, we are okay. There's tires, so you have to back off, and then now we pushing forward a little bit more. Oh, maybe we can turn the volume up a little. I'm just thinking we do we need the volume here, by the way, or is it okay if I keep
You
it
can keep it off. I
just
don't think you need it.
yeah? Okay, okay, okay.
I'll just point out the moments where it's like I hear ults or if it affects my decision making. But
Sure, sure. This sounds fine. Okay, for example, here, I'm thinking this is we talked about disabling pressure. I'm thinking this is kind of what are we looking for? Yeah, we see the Armado is going in. He's being active on the map right now.
hmm.
So the sleep tower, it's all right. Yeah, maybe you can extend the time just for half a second or something. He might push you a little bit more and actually wait for him to pressure you, or to pressure the soldier. I think he's not able to hit him from this range. Let me see. Yeah, he's kind
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
getting closer. Yeah. So if we extend the time, it's can be better because you put him in a bad spot this way. You kind of
Yeah. If I just wait
force
a
him to
little
push
bit
you more.
longer.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Or like here, yeah. So we maybe rushing it a little bit, yeah. Something to keep in mind when you play around the cooldowns, like I mentioned, when you're waiting for this eye pressure first from good position, and then you disabling the enemies, yeah, once they use their cooldowns. Yeah, if you think about this, something what's useful is to track the cooldowns, just kind of thinking looking at the enemy team and asking yourself, what are really cooldowns I can play around? What are the big things I can force out and then punish the enemy? Yeah. And if
Hmm.
you're looking at their team, if you're looking at let me see, where do we press tab? Maybe we I think we did kind of at the start, and then we kind of didn't. Let me see. Maybe it's gonna be here. Maybe here. Oh, there's no tab, but well, we can kind of see the composition here at least.
Mm,
So if you look at their composition, they have Junkrat, they have May, they have Ramatra, they have Moira. What do you think are the biggest cooldowns you can play around and force out?
Ramatra, Moira, Junk, May.
So what are those exactly?
The
What are
the
the
ones that
Mhm,
I'm thinking of that are most like, I don't know, affect me the most are May's like wall, because
mhm.
twice she either blocked a sleep or a
Right.
nade because of that. In Ramatra,
Yeah,
obviously Nemesis.
obviously, yeah. So
If I keep my distance away from Junk, uh, I don't think too much about his other than Tire.
mhm. Right, right, right. See, this is kind of like a cooldown trade. Yeah, we really just trying to force out something about big gate can be even May ice block. Let's say you force the May ice block with just shooting, and then the May went on you after. She's going on you after. Well, you can disable her pressure with the nade, but just keep the cooldowns in mind, yeah, because now you keep the track on the cooldowns. It's just so much easier for you to think, oh, should I be using the nade or not? Like here, for example,
Hmm.
okay, there's a nemesis. They already do a lot of pressure, so they use this cooldown. Now I can look to disable them. I can kind of look to just shut down this pressure. Also, you're enabling your Reaper here, so I think this is nice. It's the end of the fight now. We just
Hmm.
looking to use the sleep dart under Matra. That was fine. Now gotta push up. They have life fever and then early pressure. This is good. There's a sleep dart and then yeah. So this is kind of the point of time where
Hmm.
we have these poke phase, where
Yeah.
we have this time when nothing really is happening. When there's let's just say most of your team and most of the enemy team, they cannot press this primary fire on each other actively in most cases. Yeah, like Zarya cannot primary fire, the Reaper cannot do that, the Moira cannot do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of only you on this team, I think, can
And the
actively do
soldier.
damage from this range.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. The soldier's range also it can be cut off. Your range, however, it's yeah, it's like pretty long. The Zarya's right click maybe can apply some pressure, but we always looking at it like, okay, what's my pressure when it's happening? Yeah, right now the teams, your team and the enemy, they cannot do that pressure as
All
much.
right.
So you can use this time to sneak some pressure. You can use this time to use your cooldowns if you want to just build some extra value. But when the real fight happens, so it's around here, I think it's gonna happen right there. You should have your cooldowns again to enable or and disable something. Enable, disable something. Yeah. So if we're looking at this sleep dart, we
Hmm.
used it right there. Yeah. Now, could we be using it here and disabling something?
Yeah.
Totally, right? But what about your nade? Is there an opportunity to use your nade before the fight? Maybe even sleep dart. Yeah, what do you think? Because right now in a poke phase, is it possible to kind of sneak some pressure before this actual brawl phase? What do you think?
It would be right now. I would throw the nade. But even then,
Probably.
like the fight took so long prior, like they're already pushed up. Ramatra was the last one we killed, and he was already coming. And if he's the last one we killed, I should probably assume his teammates are on the bridge already. Uh,
Right.
so I don't know if I can use any of them. Um,
Yeah, so you definitely want to be careful. Yeah, with this, it's definitely more like it's gonna be more intuitive. Of course, there's no like exact number. Yeah, you
hmm,
shouldn't be looking at exact like number. Okay, we're at this meter range. We have this kind of time, and then I use the name. No, it's definitely
right.
hard this way. I think just try to experiment, see what works, kind of. So it's gonna be more intuitive for you because now I definitely think there's point of time where even if you're looking to sow your nade like right now and it's not hitting anything, it does matter because then you get your nade back and then we can use it on a brawl phase. So we're not really wasting the nade. Yeah, we really need to think about. having our cooldowns for sure in the brawl phase. Yes,
Hmm.
we need that, but you can also sneak some extra value in the poke phase if if possible. If
Yeah.
possible, of course.
Yeah.
If not possible, and you know you cannot get your cooldowns back when the brawl phase happens, then just keep the cooldowns. Like here, well, brawl phase is about to happen. I shouldn't use my sleep dart right now because what am I doing with that? I'm not controlling the map here effectively. I'm not disabling the biggest pressure and or not enabling anything. Yeah, like this is big pressure when the May or like Ramatra maybe the May uses the ultimate. Yeah, you can't think about disabling that. You might think about also going after the Ramatra when he uses his nemesis or something like that. It's kind of our thought process, generally speaking. This nade is okay, just the end of the fight. So
So we win it
now,
somehow, and I'm trying to
mhm,
do
right, some early pressure, yeah.
right.
This is good. This is good pressure, and you also trying to take that off angle, uh, sleep dart there, and then using the nade as well. Now, what do you think about those sleep darts and nade? Is it something? Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about the value right there?
So the sleep dart was like kind of a prediction because I knew he was going to walk across, but it could have
Yep.
been a waste. I could have easily missed that. So that one I'm more okay with. Well, so I have an advantageous position, right?
Yep. Yep.
And we have high ground. Part of me thinks the sleep dart influenced them to go into the room. I wish I didn't throw my nade, because then I wouldn't feel as scared pushing up on the bridge. So I have line of sight.
Hmm.
Because now I'm not pushing up because I'm like, I don't have anything. So I'm like, I'm going to
Yes.
play
Yes.
safe,
Right.
but I'm not putting
Exactly.
any pressure on. And if I had my nade and I look over the bridge, I probably hit like all of them. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
So see, our pressure is really connected to understanding when the brawl phase happens. The
hmm,
brawl phase is about to happen right now, and we don't have anything. So we're not enabling or disabling anything. Yeah. So this is this is the mistake. Yeah. Ideally, we should have something. And as you mentioned, sleep dart, it can help you to be more aggressive.
hmm,
Even nade can help you to be more aggressive in a way. So you have the sleep dart, you can know I can go here maybe. If somebody pushes me, well, I just sleep them. If they're not, well, maybe I can find value with the sleep dart on the bottom. This is kind of our thought process. But see, it does mean that you cannot use your cooldown so early. You just need to find this time. Yeah, like right now, this is your time. This is your time you want to fight. No
hmm,
real pressure happens. Both your team and the enemy, they cannot, most of the enemies and your team, they cannot pressure each other with primary fire. Yeah, like there's just one member. It's a 5v1, so he can kind of just do this early pressure on the enemy. You can use your sleep dart, you can use your nade. Yeah, the nade is the May is coming out as well. So use the nade there, use the sleep dart there. You get it back when the actual brawl phase happens. Yeah.
hmm,
So it's gonna be probably like if I look at the timer, it's a 52 seconds. Use the nade now. Now we wait, and then brawl phase happens at 42 seconds. Yeah, kind of. So it's at 10 seconds, and you use your nade, and you're also gonna get your sleep dart back. By the way, yeah, the brawl phase actually extended a little bit more, so it's right there. You see, you have enough time. You actually can sneak some pressure in the brawl phase, and then go
yeah.
and do something in the in that
Oh my
brawl phase.
gosh, that nade is it's like a fight losing choice. Like that's a because I really think if I saved both the sleep dart and the nade
Yeah.
and I let them walk into the room and then they go down low, I think we win that fight 100%.
Yeah,
And
but
that's the
don't.
game.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, totally. Don't forget that it's possible to apply pressure. Just make sure early pressure. Just make sure you have the cooldowns when the brawl phase happens. Yeah. So
okay.
here, you just don't have the time. There's no time for the poke. phase. Yeah, most of your team they kind of already in a fight. Well, they're almost kind of about to fight. There's one guy who's committed, and I think some of your teammates also under the bridge. So you just don't have enough time to
Yeah.
so early nade and then get another one. So this is the time you're kind of thinking, okay, how to get the biggest value with my cooldowns. Um, you're trying to take this off angle, which I think is pretty decent, and then you're trying to enable the Moira, go back towards the soldier and drop. Okay. And then we're trying to sleep dart. Okay. What do you think about dropping from this position? What was the thought process behind it?
I can't heal most of my team easily. Like I can't heal them easily. So I would dropping is me making the choice like if I stay on high ground I'm doing damage and if I
Mhm.
drop I'm probably healing and maybe doing damage. And so even though it's the better position I'm thinking in my head, probably I can't heal my teammates from here. And I can't assume they'll take cover well. So
So the priority is kind of we're thinking enabling your team here first, or what?
mm,
If I understand that correctly, or
I don't know if it's like a pure thought process, but it's just like in my head, yeah, probably I'm thinking, well, my job is to
uh huh.
keep them alive, and if I don't heal them, even though I have high ground, I'm gonna get flamed.
Okay, okay. Can you because you're trying to disable pressure from your team. This is what you're doing with the healing. Yeah, you kind of they're getting pressured, and then you really just start supporting them. Okay, is there a way for you to support your team without healing them? In a way, in this case,
Make sure they don't ever get hit
yeah, yeah,
by
but how?
taking attention.
Yeah, taking attention. Yeah,
Yeah,
and what position allows you to take attention?
honestly, I could have stayed here.
Yeah, what do you think is more valuable, taking attention or trying to support your team?
Mm,
Like directly, yeah, let's call it attention. It's indirect support, and direct support is when you're healing. So what's better, indirect or direct?
well, the answer to that question, I'd say
Usually.
direct is better, but at the same time, while attention is indirect, the damage I do from that attention is direct.
Uh-huh. Well, let's just kind of we just simplify, yeah, like to this sort of if we're talking about the team, yeah, we're talking about the supporting them. Yeah. Let's call it the damage is indirect support. The direct support is we
Hmm.
just healing them. Okay. So if we're thinking a lot of times is the first priority about healing somebody. And then going to pressure. A lot of times you might notice that is a general mindset. Yeah, there might be a problem which a lot of supports are facing is where you put in your attention towards the elements which you cannot control. If your first priority is on those elements, it's not the most ideal mindset because
Hmm.
we unfortunately, yeah, as I mentioned, you cannot control your team. Sometimes you do support them a lot directly with the healing. You do support them a lot directly with all this stuff, but they just cannot apply as much pressure. But because you're focusing on elements which you can control, such as your damage, yeah, such as your position, because you know what are you doing, yeah, exactly controlling your keyboard and mouse, yeah, then it's much easier for you to support your team this way. So I'm not saying you shouldn't support in your team. I just think
Hmm.
you need to think about the ways how to support your team in a way so there is you controlling the situation more, and then later you can pay attention to your team if this is needed, yeah. And this is kind of what I think a lot of times it's important about this awkward approach. I think if
Yeah.
you trying to implement this, it's just important to understand that we we being proactive. It's like we really making it this way. So The most
Uh,
attention is on us first of all, and then later you can support your team directly. So if you stay
yeah.
at this position, they start pushing you, and then your team can do things more. And because you maybe have the sleep dart, you can punish anybody who goes in you. Yeah, but you can never know if your teammate can use the shift correctly, like the Reaper can do that, or maybe
Hmm.
your, I don't know, Mercy can easily fly away or something. They will not mess up. You don't know, but you always know if you mess up or not, and you can improve that. This is what is important, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Do the
Yeah.
things you can control, because then if you mess up, you know that it was, your fault versus like a more complex like
Yes. Is the
Nate,
first
one of
point.
our other coaches as well, our first coach who in this series was talking about the difference between playing to cover your teammates' mistakes versus playing the right way. Uh,
Oh,
and like sometimes you play like right there, I'm playing because my teammates are in a bad position. If we think about positioning, like they're way
right.
pulled back, they're not using high ground. I'm playing to support the not even their mistakes, the potential of their bad mistakes. Like I'm playing to cover the potential of it. And
Right.
instead of playing what would have been a much better position with me on top.
Yeah, exactly. Just press the wrong button. Unfortunately, I have to have to move a little bit forward. But yeah, this is what I mean. We're trying to support your play first, and then support the your team directly. And technically, if you're also being here, by the way, you're still gonna be able to see your team
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
extend a little bit, if you push a little bit. So this is also important to
which
mention, I think.
which I can do if I keep my cooldowns. Like if I'm
Yeah, if you
safe,
have the
because
seed.
like if I push up that angle and look backwards, maybe I'm not very safe if I don't have any cooldowns. I don't know.
Yeah, but you have the sleep darts in this case, so I think you can kind of stay. You also have the nano, by the way. And the nano is one of the ways to also disable the pressure or enable
Mm,
your team's pressure. Yeah, your team's going in with nano, they can force out more attention, more cooldowns. So this is kind of, in a way, is a safe cooldown for you. Yeah, you might even nano this more if something happens, and this is gonna be fine. This is gonna be
yeah.
much better. Yeah, it's just really
Oh man.
enable your play first. Okay. I'm thinking. So we have some time left. Yeah, I have the Nada students in the
Sure, sure.
15
Yeah,
minutes.
whatever time you need. Yeah, happy to call it here or wherever you think is good.
Yeah, I'm just thinking we can summarize what we mentioned. It was kind of brief look, of course. We did a lot of talking, but I think this is good. We talked a lot about some fundamental things. So if
Yeah.
we summarize, what do you learn from today? What do you need to work on based on our
Yeah, I think
conversation?
two fundamental things that I think will stick in my head beyond this. Obviously, I'll keep coming back to it, but the first one is pressure, pressure, pressure to force out their cooldowns, and then we
Hmm.
punish that cooldown usage. I think that was a big one. And then obviously what you're saying about making sure you have your cooldowns available when you enter. I've never thought of a fight as entering phases, and so
Mm,
you can waste cooldowns, try to sneak, like you said, value out of the cooldowns in the poke phase, but have them ready in the brawl phase
hmm.
when that starts up. I think those are two big things that
Sure.
center on cooldown usage, and I think that'll give a lot of people good tangible hooks for when to use them. Pressure until they use theirs, then punish, and then have them ready at certain times. I think people can. It's something that can be very easy to remember.
Right.
It's helpful for
Right.
me. So
Nice. And we kind of, with our, because it was mainly map control scheme we mentioned about our positions. Yeah, we've been focusing on taking off angles and your abilities. Those abilities, especially your sleep dart, it helps you to extend the pressure. It helps you to stay on the angle
yeah,
more. Yeah, I think especially focus on the sleep dart a little bit more. I think the nades for the most part been okay. Yeah, we of course there's some work which can be done, but start was the biggest thing, and it's definitely thinking about the sleep dart like enabler for you to stay on the off angle. Uh,
Mm,
if pressure happens, if there's a somebody using cooldowns, then you can punish them. Yeah, then you can kind of disable them. Yeah, there's maybe a risk that you die, especially the Reaper gets really close or something. You can use that. Ideally, of course, we need to force out something. Yeah, like force out his shift or Tracer goes in, force out your
mm,
blinks. It with the pressure, quick scope shots, or maybe sometimes scope shots if it's a long distance, but usually quick scope shots, and then we punishing. Yeah, then we
yeah,
punishing the tracer, a- and disabling the pressure. Okay, so taking angles, poke phase, we and just pressure to force out cooldowns. I think those are main takeaways so far, right?
those are big ones. Yeah, I mean that's enough to
Okay.
practice on for more than 6 hours a week.
No, I think this is good enough. Yeah, this should be good for sure. And if you're gonna have any questions, again, always message me on Discord if you want to give me any specific timestamps which you want me to look at. If you have any specific question, you can just answer that. I also gonna send you the summary really soon. I think for later, my suggestion would be if we ever want to do more lessons, it can be paying attention to map control a little bit more, but we can pay attention to other topics, understanding the things such as the kill zone, understanding power positions, and I think also understanding corners a little bit more, how you play near corners, because today is more kind of general, but I think it's more,
Yeah,
it's pretty useful as well. I mean, you just start with the biggest kind of work on everything step by step. Make sure
sure.
whenever you get in a game, just pick the one goal. Make sure it's simple as possible and just work on that.
Yeah.
Just do everything step by step. You might choose to maybe work on your sleeve darts. Yeah, so what is that? Is just when you take an off angle, extend the pressure, wait for the pressure, and then you sleeve dart something. Yeah, build the habit.
Mm,
Build the habit of doing this because Overwatch is really a fast-paced game. You just don't have enough time to just sit and think about everything. So yeah, pick one goal and then work on it,
that's
and then
perfect.
later move to another goal. Yeah.
Yeah, all really good
Oh,
stuff. Yeah, for sure.
nice. That's good to hear. Well, then I will see you later. Good luck in your games, and
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
good luck
you.
with the
Thank you.
challenge overall.
Thank you so much for coming on. You've offered a lot of insight into kind of cooldown usage in particular. I think that was really big.
Sure,
But also positioning early, like super great stuff.
sure,
So thanks for
sure.
coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll see you in the
Nice.
next one.
Yeah, we'll see you next time too. Bye bye then.
Alrighty. See ya. Thank you.